So now we're back on page 3. And for page 3, same problems that we've had, but now we want critical points, intervals of increasing, decreasing, and our relative min or max. So step 1, first thing I have to do is ask for my function, is it undefined anywhere? And if it is undefined someplace, I need to figure it out, but it's not undefined, so I write none. So then I have to go and I have to find my derivative. So for my derivative, in this case, I'm going to power that down. So that 4 comes down, the 4 and the 2 are going to reduce. I'm going to get negative 2x to the third plus 2x. I take that derivative and I set it equal to 0. I see that there is a 2x that I could pull out, and I get negative x plus 1 would equal 0. So 2x equals 0, so you know x equals 0. And I also get negative x plus 1 would equal 0. With a little bit of work, you can figure out x would equal positive 1 for that. But I made a mistake. This was squared, and this was squared, and this was squared. So x would equal plus and, excuse me, minus 1. Now, in terms of sense, do they make sense? Yes, they do. So then I have to take that derivative of negative 2x cubed plus 2x and set it equal to undefined. And guess what? I get no CP points here. Okay, so have I identified my critical points? 1, 2, 3. Got them. CPs. With those CPs, I am going to go on and I'm going to make my chart, my f of x over my f prime of x. And on there I've got to put in negative 1, 0, and positive 1. And now I need to test points. Test a point here. So remember, I'm plugging in f prime of negative 2. So I'm going to get negative 2 times negative 2 cubed plus 2 times negative 2. This number is negative. This would be negative and negative. This would be positive. Ooh, this is going to be a bigger positive than a negative, so this is going to give me a positive or an increasing. Now do the same. You got to use a fraction here. It's decreasing here. It is increasing here. And it is decreasing here. And again, oops, how do I know that it's increasing and decreasing? I've taken a second without you guys listening. I've worked it out. And I plugged it into the derivative just like I did there. So it asks for the intervals where it is increasing. It is increasing in the intervals from negative infinity to negative 1. It also increases from 0 to 1. Where is this thing decreasing? It is decreasing from negative 1 to 0, and it's also decreasing from 1 to infinity. Where are my mins and my maxes? Well, for increasing to decreasing, negative 1 would be a maximum. Decrease to increase, x equals 0 would be a minimum. Increase to decrease, 1 would be a maximum. So I ended up with 2 mins and 2 maxes. So I've got all my pieces. So moving on to the next one. First one, I ask, is the original function undefined? And my answer is nope, it's not undefined, it's not a fraction. So then I move on to the derivative. With the derivative, I power that down and I get 3x squared plus 6x. And I take the 3x squared plus the 6x and I set it equal x to 0. I take out a 3x and I'm left with x plus 2 equals 0. X would equal 0, x would equal negative 2. Those are CPs. I also need to take that original the derivative, the 3x squared plus 6x, set it equal to undefined, I get no CP points. Okay, so got my CP points. I've got my f of x on the top. I've got my f prime of x on the bottom. I have 0. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to have -2 and then my 0, because I like to put them in numeric order. In my derivative, f prime of -3, I'm plugging it into 3 times -3 squared plus 6 times -3, and I work that out, and that's going to be positive, so it's increasing. Check -1, it's negative, it is decreasing. Check +1, it's positive, it's increasing. So for my last part of my answer, it's increasing from -infinity to -2, and also from 0 to infinity, and it is only decreasing from -2 to 0. Mins and maxes, increase to decrease, there is a maximum at x equal -2, and decrease to increase, there is a minimum at x equals 0. Now to the pictures. For these pictures, if you look at the back of your answer key, it does not make sense because they had different directions. So what I'm telling you, this is the derivative. You need to know that. With the derivative, I ask, where does the derivative equal 0? And the place it equals 0 is where it crosses the x-axis. This happens to be at x equal -1. That is my critical point, because I would also ask, where is the derivative undefined? Does it have any holes, any breaks, any asymptotes? And you'd tell me none. Okay, so on my f of x chart and my f prime of x chart, I have -1. So to the left of -1, my y values are negative, which means it's decreasing. To the right of -1, my y values are positive, which means I have increasing. So, critical points labeled. Interval where the function is increasing and decreasing, it is increasing from -1 to infinity. It is decreasing from -infinity to -1. And my min and my maxes, I see decreasing to increasing. It has a minimum at x equals -1, and there is no maximum. Okay, so let's look at this again. So this is my derivative, and this is asking, where is my derivative equal to 0? And it's equal to 0 at 1 and 2 spots. So that happens to be -2 and 0, and those would be my critical points. I also just need to take a quick peek. Where is the derivative undefined? And in this case, it's undefined, no place. So there are no CP points from there. So I am going to draw my little chart, f of x, and this is f prime of x. And I'm going to put on my critical point of -2, put on my critical point of 0. In the derivative, I'm going to plug in reset. In the derivative, I am going to plug in -4. And when I look at -4 on my graph, it's down here, so these are negative, so that means it's decreasing. When I look at the graph here, that's where it's positive, so it would be increasing. And when I look at the graph here, it is negative, so it's decreasing. So in the increasing area, I'm going to have it from -2 to 0. For the decreasing area, negative infinity to -2 and 0 to infinity. And finally, for my min and my max, for the min and max, I see decrease to increase. That would be a minimum, x equals -2. And increase to decrease, x equals 0 would be my max. Okay, guys, you've got a test tomorrow on this. Hope things go well.